Welcome to the Ask Jordan podcast, answering your questions about selling on Amazon. Now, the award-winning Amazon merchant and best-selling author from Long Island, New York. Here's your host, Jordan Malik.
Hey there, Amazon sellers. This is your host, Jordan Malik. This is the Ask Jordan podcast 46th episode. Hey, thanks so much for making me part of your day. I've been receiving your emails, compliments. We're over 55,000 downloads to date since March 2014. I appreciate it so much. This podcast is all about you. You make the success of this show. This is the podcast, if you're listening for the first time, welcome, where we only answer your questions about selling on Amazon. So every episode, we answer a different question from you, the listener, that you provide about selling on Amazon. And if you missed an episode, just go to askjordan.net, where we have all the previous episodes in the archives. Do you want to hear your voice on an episode of the Ask Jordan podcast? And do you want to get 7 of my best-selling ebooks 100% free? I'll tell you how you can do that after we answer today's question. And today's question is from John Byers. Go ahead, John.
Hey, Jordan. My name is John Byers, and love your podcast and listen to them all. And I just had a question. Just getting started, how you recommend financing on buying inventory. Been using my credit card to buy things, and I just wondered how you go about setting aside a certain amount of money. How much would you recommend to get started? Thank you, and again, love your podcast.
John, that's a great question. I have some kind of a different feeling about taking a loan or using credit cards right away when you're starting to sell on Amazon, because it's additional debt that you take on that you might not have to take. I think a good number of people think if they believe that they want to start selling products on Amazon, they have to have a significant amount of money to buy products. And although you can do it that way, it's not the way that I did it, and not the way that I recommend for most people. When you start getting a good significant flow of income, whether it could be $1,000 a month in profit, or $500 a month in profit, $10,000 a month in profit, then there might be a time where you want to get a credit card to be able to make some very big purchases. But you want to be in a financial position as well where you can quickly pay that off. Because there's a lot of benefits to getting a credit card, keeping a zero balance, using it for a large purchase of quantities of goods, and then being in a position where you can quickly pay that off and rack up points and or use travel miles, etc., for further discounts and further savings. So there's a lot of things I've heard. I've heard of Kabbage, begins with a K, Kabbage. They provide loans to online merchants. I'm not saying those because I recommend them or I don't get a kickback for mentioning them. PayPal also has loans. Amazon.com has loans they provide sellers. I just saw a post from somebody in a forum that talked about they got a loan from the Small Business Association. They didn't say the sum, but they say that they got to pay it back over the course of 3 years, which is actually sounds pretty reasonable at 11% interest. The problem with the loans that I mentioned, Kabbage, PayPal, the Amazon loans, and credit cards in general, is of course the interest rate, particularly more so on the Kabbage and the PayPal and Amazon loans, is the percentage interest tends to be higher than that of credit cards. So the way that I did it when I started my Amazon business is a lot of other very successful Amazon sellers have done this as well. That they just simply took their focus was getting products to resell on Amazon or eBay very inexpensively or free. We'll get to that free part in a minute. And using every penny or most of their earnings, their profits from the sales of those free or very inexpensive products, to reinvest in more inventory. And I've heard stories of people taking $500 and today they're doing like $1.4 million on Amazon They started with a $500, buying $500 worth of merchandise and turned it into 1.4 mil over the course of a year. It happens. When I started, you can listen to the previous podcast, or you may have listened, is that when I started just dealing with books, used books and used CDs and used DVDs and used VHS tapes. This is about five years ago now. From libraries and thrift stores. So I'd go to libraries and thrift stores with my scanner and I'd find books that I paid 10 cents, 25 cents, $1, $2 for, or CDs or DVDs, and sell them for $8, $9, $12, $15, $50, etc. So your percentage ROI, your percentage profit is exponentially higher than if you say to yourself, I'm going to get a loan for $5,000 and I'm going to buy $4,000 worth of wholesale products where I'm going to just essentially double my money. If you take that approach, to me, that's a much higher risk. So I would encourage you to not take the loan part. If you were selling on Amazon for 2 or 3 years and you had a significant steady stream, then I'd say your risk of taking on a loan is lower. Your risk of using a credit card for a big purchase is lower because you've gotten your feet wet, you know the ropes. But the beautiful thing about running an Amazon business is you do not need a lot of capital to get started. You do not need a loan to get started. You do not need a credit card. You can start incrementally. And see, the big trap is that people want to go big right away, right? They want to spend $5,000 right away on merchandise. And I don't recommend that because the people who want to rush into this quickly, I'm not saying you, John, I'm just saying in general, the people that want to rush into this and go big right away, I've seen them all. I don't think there's one person who's succeeded at that, where they've taken a big chunk of money and bought a lot of inventory. The majority or all the people that I talk to that do that, they take a big chunk of money and buy a lot of inventory right away. It's usually inventory from a handful of sources, whether it's a wholesaler or it's just a handful of retail stores. I've seen them fall down. I haven't seen one person win. They end up having a lot of inventory tied up, and they're not receiving the volume of sales where they can sustain the business or keep it going or reinvest the money they earn into additional products to sell. So I talk a lot in my previous podcasts and on my blog at honestonlineselling.com about buying merchandise very inexpensively. You can go look on my blog or listen to the previous podcasts, whether that's used books, CDs, DVDs from thrift stores, garage sales, estate sales, yard sales, library sales. Many libraries have unannounced sales. Many libraries have book racks. When they're not having their annual sale, they have book racks inside the library. I got laid off or fired in like 2009 or 2010. My wife and I had one car with 80,000 miles on it. My wife had her own house cleaning business. This is going back 5 years or so. So my father-in-law would take me in his van, which also had like 80, 90,000 miles on it, and he'd drive me to all the libraries in Long Island, or most of Long Island, which is about a total of 70, 80 libraries in the whole island here. And we hit maybe 30 or 50 over the course of a year repeatedly. We'd hit a number of libraries every day, 2, 3, 4 days a week. And I would just go and consistently look for used books, CDs, DVDs, VHS tapes for reselling. And I would turn 10 cents into $10 or 25 cents into $6 or $1 into $15. Some books were free. And that's the very unsexy answer. It's the answer that most sellers don't want to hear. I'm not saying you, John. I'm just saying most sellers don't want to hear that when they're starting out because it's not a glamorous, brag-worthy approach to finding products to sell on Amazon. So consider that route. Also consider, if you're an eBay seller, or even if you're an Amazon seller, this book may help you. And John, actually for you only, I will send you that book if you remind me for free, in addition to the 7 that you get from me. It's available in the Kindle format, and it's called The Free eBay Products Worth Thousands that you can find lying around your home. I'm not saying my title exactly correctly, but it's on the Kindle. If you do a search for Jordan Free eBay, you'll see it on Amazon.com. Go to Amazon.com and type the keywords Jordan Free eBay. And in that book, I tell people about the surprising amount of merchandise and different types of merchandise and broken merchandise you have lying around your home that you can actually use and get very big profits out of them, and use that seed money to kickstart your career selling products online. And that goes the same for you, John. If you or your friends or your family have unwanted, used, or new, still sealed DVDs, games, CDs, books, VHS tapes lying around their house, or lying around your house, you can use that too. And, your first $500 you should be withdrawing and then reinvesting in more of that. You get more of the same. Garage sales are the most understated. It's not understated. It's the word I'm looking for. Underrated. Garage sales, yard sales, and estate sales are the most underrated method of finding products for a song, because the people who are running the yard sales and the garage sales just want to unload stuff. They're practically paying you to get rid of it for them. So the bulk of people going to the garage sales have $1 to spend here and there, right? So on the buyer side, it's a huge opportunity for you to find all those products for a song and reap the exponential rewards, the huge profit margins that you can get from doing that. So I don't recommend that, John. I don't recommend you get a loan, because I think it's high risk in terms of, there's an added pressure for you to have to quickly pay that back. I suggest you start out, and there's tons of free information on my blog, honestonlineselling.com. Do a search for the most recent 20, or click through the most recent 10 posts, and you'll understand what I'm referring to. So, John, that's a great question. Good luck to you, and keep me posted. John gets all 7 of my ebooks, and John, I'll give you that extra ebook if you remind me about selling on Amazon and eBay. John, just go to AskJordan.net, click on the small envelope icon, in the upper right-hand corner of the page. Send me an email so I know where to send all your ebooks to. If you, the listener, want to submit a question to the podcast and have a chance to win all 7 of my best-selling ebooks like John, you can call 516-619-ONLINE. That's 516-619-6654. Or just go to AskJordan.net and scroll down, look for the directions on submitting your question. Hey, thanks for listening. This has been the Ask Jordan Podcast. We'll see you again in our next episode.